understanding, discipline, faith, kindness, elegance, beauty, confidence, and grace. Mommy was a leader. She never had to say it. You felt it as soon as she entered the room. That was the thing with my mommy. It was a feeling that overwhelmed me every time I thought of her. Whether I was with her or not. One of the most special qualities about my mommy was she led with grace. Some may not understand that unless you ever met my mom. She was strong. She was so strong. And she knew when, she knew where, and how to show her strength. I believe her strength came from her love of our Father in heaven, and her love of my daddy, her beloved husband here on earth. Mommy and Daddy were a true team. They exemplified love. As children, they taught us how to love, not through words, but through actions. There's so many moments, far too many to tell. I remember waking up of my coma and seeing my mommy's face and feeling her touch. In that moment, I knew everything would be okay. There was something so incredible about her touch. The countless days and nights spent with me in the hospital, always at my side. As an adult, she remained so close, never leaving my side. Mommy was my best friend. Anyone who knows me knows that. You see, Mommy was a big part of my equation. People always ask, why are you so happy? Why do you always smile? I shrug my shoulders as if I don't know, but I know. When God blesses you with a base, like my mom and dad, who built within you faith so strong and rooted so deeply in our Lord and Savior, can you not smile and be happy? Mommy made everything special. The touch of a sweet hand, a hand of many works. It could be stern when needed, but mostly it was an indescribable touch of love. My mommy was truly loved. So many times throughout my life, when people learned my name and would ask if I was Mrs. Broussard's daughter. And the recount of what she meant in their lives. All the responses mirrored each other, and all came back to the show of love. The love for my mommy. Mommy loved people. She always followed our Father's basic commandment. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, and mind, and love your neighbor as yourself. Mommy, you are the air that I breathe. I don't know how I'm going to do this without you. What I do know is you have given me the path and shown me all my life. Now all I have to do is to put it all together and figure it out. I love you, Mom.
Yes, my mother is Mommy. I call her that too. Mommy always made holidays and birthdays special to us. It's the non-tangibles that mean so much. We always had a homemade devil's food cake and a family gathering with ice cream. We sang happy birthday, and my parents harmonized We share so many memories from those gatherings to this day. Thank you, Mommy. My mother was amazing in the kitchen. If you'd ever been fortunate enough to share a meal with us, you'd know. For holidays, she gave the gift of herself with more than enough delicious food to feed the Broussard army and the priest. She loved inviting family and the priest over for big dinners, and we all treasure those memories. Her love came with rules, though, and I like that because I used that in all my years of teaching. She would announce the Ed and Connie motto: take all you want and eat all you take. For me, Mommy's love was precious, kind, caring, and comfortable. Some of you have heard the story of the miscarriage that Tim and I experienced after our first year of marriage, and how much my mother comforted me when she walked through the door. I didn't have my glasses on, but I could make out who it was. And all at once, I knew everything was going to be okay. I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, and my husband gave me my shots at the beginning, but then she was the one that coached me through and cheered me on to give myself my first shot. She knelt down by me and pushed that needle in my leg. Anybody knows how much I hate shots? This was huge for me. So that was really a big deal. Again, about 5 years ago, I went through rotator cuff surgery. Mommy was 82 years old. First of all, she and Daddy, of course, came to the hospital for the surgery. I told them they didn't have to stay, but they insisted. And as always, I was grateful. My parents' sense of humor can lighten any situation, and it was just great to have them there. Thank you, Mommy. I had no idea how painful the surgery would be. She had already made plans to stay with me after the surgery, to take care of me, to comfort me, to love me. I had to sleep in the recliner. She slept on the couch. She'd set the timer for 10 minutes before it was time for my pain medicine, the next dosage. When the alarm went off, she popped up off the couch like a 25-year-old, went to the kitchen, got water, got the chair. Baby, it's time for your medicine. And so she could help me stay in front of the pain, something she's always done. She's always been there for me through difficult times. I love you so much, Mommy, and I will miss you terribly. This is the worst event in my life, but I know you are my guardian angel in heaven, and you will help me through it.
Stephen Curtis Chapman, a singer-songwriter, wrote, "We walk by faith and not by sight. We know it's true. We say it and sing it and love the way it sounds. But none of us can even begin to truly understand what it really means till all the lights go out. And there we are, nothing to hold on to, but the promises God made to me and you. Take another step. When the road ahead is dark and you don't know where to go, take another step. Trust God and take another step. If there's an ocean in front of you, you know what you've got to do. Maybe he'll turn the water into land. And maybe he'll take your hand and say, let's take a walk on the water. Will you trust me? Either way, take another step. Trusting God takes faith. What is faith? Hebrews chapter 11, verse 1 says, faith is the assurance of things hoped for and the conviction of things not seen. Thank God for the gift of faith that gives us eyes to see and ears to hear and a heart to be open to the truth and the magnificent beauty and the story of God's redemptive work in Jesus Christ that brings us back to a wholeness that he created us to have with him. A promise, many promises that he gave us, is only as believable and reliable as the one giving it. The promise giver of the Bible is the creator of all things. That's why our faith allows us to trust in him. When I reflect on the wonderful example and words of wisdom my mom said in my mind and heart, I can summarize it by saying she was and will continue to be a beacon of light, faith, hope, strength, and love to me. And from what I have heard the past few days and see before me right now, countless others will continue to be blessed by her life as well. My mom's correction and discipline from even an early age in my life have kept me on the straight and narrow. I'll give you a few examples. Picture a young mother sitting with her 4 children at church. Her husband is the choir director, thus not available to help corral the mischievous restlessness of her 2 oldest boys. When the elder taunts the younger, and the younger's reaction causes him to pay the penalty for the sins of the elder, I received the penalty of a painful pinch. Many of you know. A pinch. Nanny hat, Mimi, or whoever, whatever you call them. Unmatched by any other. Now picture the younger son as a 3rd grader who has been caught reading a book in class, math class. His teacher takes the book and says she will return it after school. When the end of the day school bell rings, this innocent little darling goes to get his book, only to hear the teacher say he would not get the book back until after she spoke to his parents that evening. Having been pushed to his limit, this otherwise very mild manner calls the teacher a liar several times. Later that evening at home, when the phone rings, the teacher relays the events of the day. Following this call, I learned from both my mom and my dad and their Board of Education that respecting your teachers and elders was going to be an important principle going forward. Even this day, today, when I have been tempted to introduce humor where it need not be introduced, I can hear my mom very clearly say, Kenneth Wayne. A few years back, I began to intentionally call my parents on my long drives home from work in downtown Washington, D.C. to the suburbs of Northern Virginia. Not every day, but very often. Those calls continued until last week and were great times to catch up. Whether on those calls or in person, I welcomed my mom's question, "So Kenny, how are you doing, baby?" The conversations that followed are treasures to my soul. She loved to call me her baby boy at 60 years old. And yeah, I guess I'd love to hear it. Dad and Mom prayed for me and all of their children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren, and others most every day. I know those prayers have sustained me throughout my life. I think it was 6 months ago that I decided to accompany my parents on their annual trip to Branson, Missouri. I flew to Houston to visit with family here for a day or so. Then Mom, Dad, and I set off very early in the morning on Sunday, September the 2nd, 2018. What a time we shared, including a flat tire that couldn't be repaired and needed to be replaced on a Sunday, the day before Labor Day in Nacogdoches, Texas. God provided a new tire for us, and we continued on to successfully make it to Branson. I knew the memories from that trip would be special. I didn't know how special they would be. Last Wednesday evening, the day before her surgery, I talked to Mom. She was at peace and we talked about various things. It's hard to even remember it all now. I wish I could. She finished the conversation by saying, "I'll talk to you tomorrow, Kenny. I love you, baby." Now we know that conversation will be in God's tomorrow. His timing is always perfect and good, so I can wait till then. Mom, you made a beautiful home for us here and loved us very well. Now, You live in an unimaginable heavenly home in a city whose architect and builder is God, the King of Kings and Lord of Lords, the Holy One of Israel. God, whose love you now know face to face, loves you immeasurably more than we can ever imagine. While I grieve you being gone, I do it with the hope God has promised. Until I see you again, I will remember you with great and abiding joy. Your sweet voice, gentle yet reassuring hugs and encouragement always moved me to trust God and take another step. Your influence in my life will always shine a bright light on my path, fill me with faith and hope, and give me strength to love the Lord our God with all of my heart, soul, mind, and strength, and my neighbor as myself. I love you, Mom.
On January the 10th, 1957, the one and only eternal God of love gave me two great gifts, life and Edmund and Consuela Broussard to be my parents. And yes, I can count. These are two gifts. Because my mother and father were ever, always, only one. As the scriptures declare from Genesis 2 to the Apostle Paul's letter to the Ephesians, and they too shall be one flesh. I know nothing but the warm, nurturing embrace of a mother who would shape my life at an imperceptibly profound level. She not only disciplined me, but oh how she did discipline me. But my mother always stretched the horizons of my vision. She saw in me what I could not see in myself, and she called it out of me. Then she helped me to find the courage to step far beyond my comfort zone into many a journey of faith that are still taking me to my God-given destiny. When my mother smiled at me, my whole soul lit up. My courage rose up. What the entire rest of the world had to say about me didn't matter. Because the power of grace and truth in her loving gaze destroyed the power of lies that would assail my soul. So many of the intrinsic instincts that now enable me to crisscross the world, helping to bring the gospel of Jesus Christ and his kingdom to 115 nations around the world, were shaped in my mother's countless words and acts and examples of love, of wisdom, of service, of leadership, and of devotion to our Lord Jesus Christ. For 6 decades, I watched my mother's life from the vantage point of a son. I watched her from the Ladies' Auxiliary of the Knights of St. Peter Claver to the Lady Charmon Social Club. I watched her from the altar at St. Mary's to the bedside of the sick and shut-in. I watched her love genuinely, serve selflessly, judge soundly, accept honor with humility, exercise authority with grace and wisdom. I've watched her from a cradle in Frankfurt, Germany, to an ICU bed in St. Joseph Hospital at 4:15 a.m. on Friday morning, September 28th. When I had to release her hand into the hand of the great shepherd of the sheep, who by the blood of the eternal covenant purchased for her an inheritance among the saints in the kingdom of light, where she now resides and will forevermore in the presence of the Lord she loved and served. Der Tod seiner Heiligen ist für gehalten vor dem Herrn. Дорого получать Господи смерть Svirtigio, estimada en los ojos de Jehová, es la muerte de sus santos. Precious in the sight of the Lord are the death of his saints. Psalm 116, verse 15. I love you, Mom. We love you. And now my father is going to come up and join Ken, Winnie, Edwin, and myself, and has some things that he would like to leave with you. Dad?
Wow. Who on earth would want to follow that? My goodness. When'd you learn that? Well, I'll do the best I can. And something I forgot now, you have to get these glasses on. They're tangled up here. There we go. All right. Well, you've heard your family, and I guess there's not much else I could say about my wife. But I'll tell you a few things that might be interesting. Beginning in 1955, we were married in Port Arthur, Texas. After an unforgettable honeymoon, we spent, believe it or not, a year apart. I worked in Louisiana and traveled back to Port Arthur, Texas to see her every weekend, and they were short. We determined that as soon as the year was over, we would sail off to Germany. Connie and I had a wonderful time together. And I'll tell you, in Germany, it was the only time we were living alone. If you knew something about the home in Port Arthur, you would know that it didn't have too much room for two people who are married. All right. So now, being in Frankfurt, Germany, of course, I was defending all of you all. I was in the army. That's how my son got to speak like that. His name is Edmund Jr. He was born in Frankfurt, Germany. What a wonderful and blissful thing that was, to be living alone with my wife, she with me, and having your first child, where he was really not been influenced by any of the stuff that happens in Germany. And so maybe that's where you got it. All right. Where was that? Eddie was born in Germany, January 10th, 1958. Connie studied German even at University of Xavier University, and carried that with her to Germany. So the first year while she was still pregnant for Eddie, she went from the University of Maryland. University of Maryland had some German lessons there to get, and she was able to sign up. and did very well in that, and was able to take classes there in Frankfurt. Time passed and Eddie Jr. was born. Eddie was kind of well, I'm not supposed to talk about Eddie. I love these four children. They're all different, and yet they're very all full of love and honor and respect of others. And I like that about them. Well, that's good. Even the boys didn't have a comment about that, so that must be they did it right. They forgot about those. In Germany, we met a wonderful lady, anxious to keep Eddie. Oh, God, poor girl. And we had planned to take a trip to Rome during the 1958 ceremonies in Rome, where we were able to attend the midnight mass at the big basilica in Rome, where the Pope himself, Pope Pius XII, was going to do the mass. And that was it. That was enough for anyone to really come into a new range of thought about their faith and what it's all about. If any of you would like to want to do that one year, go. Doesn't matter how much it costs, go. Maybe you can catch that, well, I already said it, I'll say it when I get there. When we came over here, when we came to Germany, we were for Eddie. Luckily, Eddie did something he didn't even know. Before he was 6 months old, just before 6 months, because of that, the strong soldier that I was, and fought all the enemy as long as I was over there, because of Eddie, Connie, myself, and Eddie were assigned to go back to the United States of America on a troop ship. But this is the good part. By the 6-month deal, both of us had a cabin on the top floor of this beautiful ship. And below us, however, was over 1,200 men troops who had been in field duty for quite a while. So anyway, we had a nice run back to the United States. Then the time seemed to rush by, and that's where things got a little rough, because Connie was working in Port Arthur and having kids, and I was working away. No, that was all before that. I'm sure you can. Religions. Sunday, now we have lived here for 53 years together with 4 wonderful children. I might say here, every position Connie pursued, she was extremely successful. In 1970, she married in St. Mary's Church. It was crowned with the introduction of the Knights of St. Peter Flavor, Knights of Peter Flavor, the Ladies Auxiliary. Within 3 years, Connie had served as secretary and became Grand Lady 159, the St. Mary's Court. She ran and won the offices of Texas State President and she did the vice first, yeah. First vice president and president. After serving only 2 years of the presidency, she was asked, repeat that. She had a 4-year term as vice president, but she was asked to run for the Supreme Lady of the Knights of Peter Clay, which of course she did. Well, now let me add, but I had to put a little something in there. She and I discussed this. She did. She came to me and said, what do you think I should do? I said to her, well, what do you think I should do? I can't run for Supreme Lady. But anyway, she did decide, we decided she would run, and she was very successful again to win the Supreme Lady thing. But she ran and won many good things while she was doing that, and after serving only 2 years of the course of, not the honor, of course, she had 6 years of Supreme Lady. She never stopped working after that. She was then appointed, or not appointed, she was successful in winning the presidency of the Peter Clay Foundation. Something else. She really was a person that was dedicated, and she did have the time for these things. And these guys behind me, they all disappeared. Okay, you know what they're telling me, don't you? Save the script, tell them to dinner. All right, so all of these good things you've heard, I guess some of them in one of my 4 children. But I'll just say this seriously. Connie and I would like to express our love and appreciation for the blessed relationships of all our friends in Claymorism, to our bishops, priests,